first one from Double says, finding the right hotel chains programs that fit you is highly individualized and multifactorial. What did it take for you to find your go-tos? How would you recommend others find theirs? RJ, I'll throw to you on this one first.
So I looked at the programs pretty heavily, right? Like you have two extremes. You have Hilton on one side, which are the rooms can be more points heavy, but the points are super easy to get. They're cheap to buy, they're cheap to have credit cards that'll get you a lot of points real quick. Like Hilton is one extreme and Hyatt is the other. The rooms are not very much points, but the points are harder to make. If you're going through just the traditional Chase cards, like there are missing categories, right? Like grocery, gas, things like that. So for me, I looked at all of the programs, right? And then I use them. And that's why I don't use Marriott anymore. That's why I book all of my Marriott stays through Delta, because their program didn't work for me in practice the way that I thought it would on paper. IHG worked a whole lot better for me in practice than I thought it would on paper. So some of it is you research, you look at things, and then you got to try it out. And you realize, oh, this program I thought would work because I had two ecosystems that could pull points really doesn't. I much rather move my points from Amex here this way. I much rather not have Chase points at all if I can help it. Right? Like for me, it was do a lot of research and then try it. You got to stay at hotels. You have to travel. Like you, as much as we wish we could sit in a room with a spreadsheet, and I have several, and figure everything out, sometimes you just got to travel. You got to get on a plane. You got to check into a hotel. You have to figure out if the pain points on paper matter. Because there are some that you think don't matter, and then, oh my God, you're faced with that pain point and you want to throw an orange at somebody's head. You don't throw an orange at somebody's head, but you think about it. And I think that's the thing is like so many people in the travel community don't actually travel all that much or haven't figured this stuff out by actually traveling. All of their stuff is theoretical. And the problem with theory is doesn't matter how good it is until you put it in practice. And I think for me, I had to deal with Marriott's program to realize how much I didn't like it. Now, for other people, especially people with work travel, like Marriott's great. For me, who travels for fun and pleasure, like much, much rather use Marriott through Delta, get the MQDs, not have to deal with Marriott points. Everybody wins. Like for me, it's great. So I think that in terms of that, like I did all the research I could, and then I just had to spend several months going to hotels. Like I did 3 weekends in a row. I stayed at a Hilton, an IHG, and a Choice Hotel. Now, this was not specifically for figuring out which partners, but it was for something else. But I actually physically went to the hotels and dealt with the service and how their hotels were laid out and all of that. So it becomes this thing of you got to travel, got to get on planes, got to deal with customer service, got to say, okay, I booked this room, but I'd really like this room. Do I ever get upgrades? Because if you're Marriott Gold, you're probably never going to get an upgrade, but unless you're going to a hotel off the highway, someplace that has 4 people staying that night, and then you might get an upgrade, maybe, if they're feeling
Even then.
generous. So the thing is, there is so much theory that we talk about, but the practical matters. For me, the practicality of first class won as soon as I did it. Like the money around it didn't matter at that point because for where I'm flying and where I'm flying out of, it's not that much different. So for me, it's worth it. But those are things that I didn't know until I did it. I didn't know how much Hilton and IHG were going to work out until I actually stayed at Hilton and IHG's, and they work. So you got to do it. Got to pack a bag, got to leave your house, got to leave this spreadsheet. Even take the spreadsheet with you. Take your laptop with you with the spreadsheet on it if you must. But you got to travel. And it's got to be okay if you make a mistake. You have to allow yourself the ability to change your partners or make a mistake. because so many people act as if they picked wrong. They have to ride it out because it's some sort of badge of honor if they do a thing they hate but continue to do it.
That's cool. No, never mind. Craig, your thoughts here.
I want to give RJ a shout out first because I think oftentimes when we're talking about travel, and this is where I was running into conflicting, I guess, information when I first got into the game. If you're only less than 10 days a year, I'm going to be really honest with you. Hotel loyalty probably doesn't really particularly matter. I'm going to take Lonnie's advice here. Start an account, accrue your points. But if you are staying less than 10 nights or 5 stays somewhere, which I think is fairly average for what people are doing, eh, is it helpful to maybe get a card if you want to build up and have an aspirational stay? Sure. But I also will say a lot of these aspirational properties, when we have this conversation of which program is best, doesn't matter which program you pick, you are going to use a butt ton of points. I was just looking at a stay in Napa Valley for a Hyatt. It's 45,000 points a night. That is a lot of Hyatt points, right? For me, it depends. For work travel, I will say Marriott has been very kind to me, particularly just because I am close to the work site. For those of you that are traveling and doing like a volume of travel, you will know being close to the hotel, close to the work site, or close to the airport is more important than do I get free breakfast? Because for me, in my case, I'm probably out of the hotel before breakfast is being served, or I'm not a breakfast person in general. I'm going to grab a protein shake and go on about my day. So, is breakfast important to you? No. Marriott's probably not the biggest deal. Hyatt Globalist status really isn't that big a deal. For me, as RJ said, getting out there and actually using the programs, I realized very quickly I have the nights or had the nights to get Hyatt Globalist status and a little bit extra. The locations didn't work for quite literally any state that I work in. We are in 8 states across the country. Not a single one of those work sites we're in within 30 minutes of getting to that Hyatt within public transportation or Uber and Lyft. And that's just not an acceptable deal for me. I will say, although I, over the last 2 years, have done the most Marriott stays, Hilton is still my preferred program. I just came back from London, did some stays at Hilton, did some stays at Marriott's. It's the little things for me that I enjoy making my visit better. So internationally, I'm getting free breakfast. Domestically, I can use that food or beverage credit whenever I want to in the day. I enjoy having that flexibility. I will also say you can earn an absolute butt ton of Hilton points, no matter what card you have. Even if you don't have a Hilton card, say that you're using the American Express Green Card, you're getting 6 points per dollar for every dollar you spend at a Hilton, plus the 10 points, plus whatever other status you have. So let's just say you don't have any status at Hilton at all. You're still getting 16 points a dollar just staying at Hilton. For me, I'm getting 34 points per dollar because I have a Hilton Aspire. I had 0 Hilton points at the start of June because I'd used all of them. I am at 72,000 Hilton points. I just checked, right? Like it is, you can build an astronomical amount of Hilton points very quickly. And it's the age old, they don't mean anything. Death by 1,000 cuts versus I hit you with a really big rock with Hyatt. I will also say, do you care about earning transferable currency? And the reason I ask that for particularly somebody like RJ, I don't care about earning Virgin Atlantic points. I don't care about earning Avios. I want Delta points and I want Hilton points, right? Because I'm a domestic traveler and I want to go where I want to be. And I know there's always going to be a Hilton there. And this is probably just a me thing. I feel a lot more comfortable transferring my points to Hilton than I do Marriott because it's a 1-for-1 transfer rate. And even on average, Hilton and Marriott points are not that big of a difference, right? You can buy a Hilton point for half a cent. On average, I'm redeeming my Hilton points somewhere between 0.9 and 1.2. Maybe the same for a Marriott, but it hurts a lot more to transfer one UR to one Marriott as opposed to one MR for 2 Hilton or two right now, 2.5, right? I'm going to also say this. how much money are you actually spending? Because I think that is a big indicator of what program you should be using, or if you should be caring about this at all. Because if you are willing to put your grocery, your gas, and your other on a Hilton Surpass and spend $15,000 and you see all the extra superpowers that you get, that's awesome. But I think if you aren't the type of person that's spending $15,000 a year, because that's also the entry point for Marriott and for Hilton Hyatt as well, again, take a step back and say, is it worthwhile for me to really dive deep into these programs as opposed to what do I need? For me, I was staying 90 plus nights a year in hotels. That's no longer the case. I'm no longer really looking at having, I might hit Marriott ambassador status this year, but next year I wouldn't be surprised if I only hit platinum. And that's from having the Bonvoy Brilliant. I think it's for the places I want to stay, it's still somewhat important to have some status because I want to have the ability to check out late. But eh, I think it's, I think we, I realize it is an aspirational game and it is a game for us to save money. But sometimes I don't think that we're being realistic in some of the advice that we give to our folks, or being realistic with ourselves with saying, like, how much am I actually spending here and how much is it wise for me to spend as opposed to just saving and using that cash instead of worrying about the points. So,
Yeah.
sorry, that was a very long winded answer, and I apologize.
No, it's fine. We're known for that around here. Lonnie, finding the right hotel chains, programs that fit you. What are your go-tos? How would you recommend others find theirs?
I don't even know if I could add anything after RJ and Craig's answers there. I think they pretty much hit every single available corner.
Yep.
And I will reiterate just a couple of points that they both made. First off is you got to try out. You got to try it out. Like RJ was saying, you just got to get out there and stay at a couple of different places. You got to stay at some Hiltons. You got to stay at some Marriotts and some Hyatts and some IHGs before you realize what it is that you actually want or what you actually like. To Craig's point, I was very beneficial to have not just work travel, but a corporate work partner that was partner of IHG. And so whenever we were out of the country, we stayed at Intercontinentals. And so I spent years and nights at Intercontinentals every time we had to do these types of work trips. That's how I start falling in love with Intercontinentals. And as we all know, I went and got my IHG card last year because I wanted a better Intercontinental experience, personal and business, but even a business, like work has a budget. They're like, yo, you can have the studio room, whatever, and it's the corporate discounted room, but your status be like, it triggers something in the system. Like, wait a sec, this doesn't make sense. Like, why are you there, but you're also a platinum member? No, man, get over there. Get in that line over there to the left. We're going to put you up on the high floor. And it only cost me $99 a year. So I'm like, this card is now worth it. So those types of things. Now, outside of work, I do stay at Intercontinental hotels often, but not as often as you think. Yeah, so personal travel only like a few times. More often than not, I'm staying somewhere else. And it's usually like a Hilton or a Marriott, to be completely honest. I rarely ever touch Hyatt. But the point that I'm trying to make is, even with IHG also owns Holiday Inn. And so just because, I like Intercontinental does not mean you might be in an area where you'll never have an Intercontinental. And you like the Holiday Inn Express properties, maybe. Hilton is not just Hilton. Hilton has so many other sub-brands like Embassy Suites, DoubleTree. You might be more of a fan of that style, especially now I'm speaking as a parent, because like Embassy Suites, suites, key word here, you're getting a regular room with extra room in it because you need a pull-out couch now. You need extra space for a pull-out bed that you don't trip over in the middle of the night, those types of things. And so you have to get out there. You have to try to figure out what actually works for you. And then you can start building a card around that particular strategy. You know what? Screw the Conrad, screw the Waldorfs. Yes, they're great, but what I need is something that's guaranteed, and Embassy Suites would guarantee to get me exactly what I'm looking for wherever it is that I'm going. So I'm just going to go that route. That might be something that you need to figure out for yourself. So there is no like one size fits all answer, but I will say, as my other two co-hosts have said, you got to get out there and try it. And then last but not least, if you're still in that early phase, the best way to get out and try it, excuse me, is to use your transferable points. More importantly, use your travel portals. I know that's a hot topic right now with Chase the Edit Credit and FHR and hotel collections, but if you could just stack up a bunch of Chase points or Amex points, I used to do this. I still do with my United miles before I got my hotel cards. Don't forget, I got my first hotel card in 2024, literally almost exactly a year ago that we're recording this. It was 4th of July weekend, so literally like exactly a year ago, 51 weeks ago, I got my first hotel card ever. I used to book any hotel with the best deal straight with my United miles. And that's how I started realizing, going back to my second point, I like Embassy Suites because, as RJ knows, I like a room with a room in it. I like Staybridge Suites, also under IHG. Why? Because I like a room with a room in it. Is it super luxurious? No, but I'm from the flipping Midwest. That is super luxurious in the Midwest. Craig, tell me I'm wrong. The new Staybridge Suite off of I-55 is
That's
pretty
that's a vacation right there. You go in there, you play in the pool, get you some pizza. It's a good time.
That's how I grew up. So it wasn't until later in life where I started getting upgraded, started staying at more expensive places, those types of things where I really got into, I really like this hotel or not. And now I fell in love with Conrad's, which ain't cheap, but I look for those now, just upgrade lifestyle, whatever you want. But it took time. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of hotel rooms. It took a lot of different beds and pillows to figure out this is what I like. And like I said, I'll pick a Conrad over a Waldorf Astoria. Luxury, modern, design. It's not even always about customer service and the food. Sometimes, yeah, the JW Marriott that has the maple bacon Brussels sprouts. If I never stayed there, I would not know that I like them. And that's one of those things that takes me back to that particular hotel every single time. Because I know I can order those at room service the second I get there at 9:30 at night. I know they're going to be slamming. I know they're going to slap. Those types of things. So the best, not to reiterate too much, but the best thing is to get out there and practice. Find something that works for you. And then once you realize what works for you, it might not always be the luxurious thing. Just because it's get the Amex Platinum, get fine hotels and resorts, stay at Ritz-Carlton, and get a presidential suite. There's a lot of ifs there, but you can do that. If that's your taste and that's your plethora, then sure. But you'll probably find somewhere along the way that Staybridge Suites is more up your alley. And then you can start building up off of that. And if you wanted something luxury, every so often, you want to stay at the Intercontinental in Miami, which is a great hotel that I stayed at last year before a cruise out of Port of Miami. Then you have that option as well. And so you're like, now you found your ecosystem. Now you found your niche.
Nope, my co-hosts all bring up very valid points across the board. The only other thing I would add, and not too sure if this was touched on, your needs and your preferences are going to also change over time. So you can start out loving you some Marriott, loving you some Hyatt is like a single person and young couple, like early relationship couple, great hotel experience. Once you're in that family and need a room with a door, Hyatt's not necessarily for you. Then you're looking at like the Residence Inns, the Town Place Suites, the Homewood Suites, Staybridge. Like when you're getting at that point, like family life, now you're looking at IHG, you're looking at Hilton, you're looking at Marriott. Marriott program may not be great for you. okay, just booking cash at Marriott and worry about the others if you want to develop your relationship there. Your relationship with the hotels will also change over time, and just constantly be willing to reassess it. Like, Hyatt can work in a certain stage of your life that maybe it's not going to work later on, and you just have to accept it, right? Or you can go back to Hyatt as, we need to get away for a weekend, you and your partner, and that is not a hotel chain that you're going to deal with kids. You can go to the JW Marriott with a family. You may not be able to go to the Park Hyatt with a family. So just be willing to reassess as life changes for you.
You also don't have, like, you are not necessarily required to be monogamous. Like, I have Hilton
Yeah.
and IHG, but I stayed at a Marriott over the weekend because I booked it through the Delta portal. Like, I don't have a problem with Marriott's. I just don't want to deal with their program, so I use the Delta portal. Or
Yeah.
if Delta didn't have their MQD thing, I'd use the Amex portal. There are ways to where you can stay where you want to stay that you don't necessarily have to go about it in a way that, like, you don't want. I don't want to deal with Bonvoy, so I get around Bonvoy and deal with it otherwise. You don't have to always be committed. Like, Matt is more of a free agent than I think the others are, and that's okay too. Like, you could be a true free agent, get an autograph and get the same, just have your loyalty points set up. So when you do your direct bookings, you're getting those loyalty points of whatever status you want, or just get all the cheapest cards for all of the hotels and then accrue points that way. There's a lot of ways to do it. It's what, free, you can get a free Hilton card, a free Marriott card,
Free
a
IHG, free
free
choice.
IHG, free
only
choice.
one
Can
that-
you get a free Hyatt?
No.
No. You guys know how much I love Hyatt. Okay, so for what, $100, you have 5 different hotel cards. Like, you can do that and just use the card at the right place to, if you're not staying a lot and maybe you're just trying everything out, try out for a year. At the end of the year, see what points you have. Be like, okay, if I consolidated everything to Hilton or Hyatt or whatever, I'd be all set. And then going in next year, keep the cards that are free, or even the $95 or $99 Hilton or Hyatt one, and then you're all set. So you can be a free agent, try everything out, and then do that. Or just keep being a free agent. If you live in a place and travel where there's a bunch of options, like, you don't have to settle down. It's not like a relationship. Like, you can move. It's okay. I give you permission. It's not my lifestyle, but I give you permission to live your truth.
I want to have Kimbra's Settle Down stuck in my head now for the rest of the night. Or just book through Rove.
I was waiting to see how long it would take you in this episode to bring up Rove. You made it much longer than I thought you would.
I enjoy them very much. I also like that, like, everything I would have bought at that Homewood Suites would have gotten me all of my Hilton points if I had decided to buy anything. All right.